Hey, welcome to People Think About It. This is the show to make you laugh, smile, and sometimes even cry. You know, we're doing a series here on child support, and what we're going to do, we have some guests in the show today, and we're going to let them introduce you a little to their self and tell them a little about themselves. And first, we have Aaron in the house, and we're going to let Aaron tell a little bit about who he is and that nature. And so, Aaron, the mic is yours.
I appreciate that, Lamar. My name is Aaron Cotterill, one of the top real estate brokers in Georgia. I specialize in the North Atlanta area, and I've had some special appearances on Oprah Network and Steve Harvey. So, a pretty well-rounded background. So I'm looking forward to being here. Thank you for having me, Lamar.
Okay, well, we appreciate you coming, Aaron. And next we have in the house, we have Carol, which is a longtime friend of mine. And
yes, sir.
Carol is going to tell you a little about who he is and what he do in life.
Sure. My name is Carol Briggs, and I'm here in the county. I work for the school system. I teach special needs kids about safety. And beyond that, I'm a church boy. I've been church all my life. I'm a pastor's kid, and I'm a musician, which has taken me quite a few places. I've seen a good part of this country, and a couple of years ago I had the opportunity to go to London to spend a week there to do some work there, and it's been pretty fulfilling. And yes, I am working on some music for a project.
Okay, and that's
I know you've been on me about that.
Yeah, no question.
But of course, we want to make sure it's right. So.
But we definitely want to do that. Well, you know, like we say, we're doing a little series here today about child support, how it affects you mentally, financially, and legally, and your experiences with the child support system, and just growing out of that experience and advancing in life. And I know Carol and I was talking over the weekend, and his situation is really unique, and I'm going to let him speak a little bit about his situation.
Okay. I'll try to make a long story short.
Okay.
Simply stated, when I became a dad, I was still in college, barely coming out of my teens, and with that in mind, it was a situation, because I was still in school, trying to make it in school and everything. Then a kid shows up. Simply stated, the mother was from here, but I was from Louisiana. So when she found out, she stopped school and left and came up here. And for my financial situation, I mean, I wasn't paying for school. I was on scholarship.
Okay.
So for me, 400 or 500 miles away, you should have said a million miles away, because there was no way that I could make, meaningful contact. In any case, before too long, I stopped hearing from her and started hearing from the state.
Oh, okay.
So they made a decision about what I could do based on my financial situation, and it wasn't a bad thing. It's just that it was something that I was just not able to do.
Right.
And I guess part of the situation was, if I can be candid, is that she wanted what they called, and I didn't know, I was very naive. When she came to school, she was very open about saying she wanted an MRS degree. I didn't know what that was.
And what is that?
She was looking she wanted to be a Mrs. And basically once she was with child, her main talk was, we got to get married.
Okay.
But I was just getting out of the house. I was running wild, big talk. I was,
it's college guy.
Basically, and that was the furthest thing from my mind. Besides, I knew that you don't marry for a child. That could mess a child up more.
Right.
So when I did have interactions, that was the forefront of the conversation. That was the opener.
Okay.
So eventually, when it was understood that I wasn't going that way, we lost touch. She basically didn't want to talk. So here we are with the situation. I couldn't see the kid if I wanted to.
Okay.
I couldn't see my son, and I couldn't see him. I couldn't communicate because of the issues with connecting with the mom. So, the courts had to get involved again because it was just beyond my reach as far as being able to do anything.
Okay.
But I didn't mind that, you know.
Yeah.
I figured that's one way to make it happen, and you just kind of deal.
Okay. So Mr. Earn, tell us how you got to your place with the child support situation, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, very similar situation. Coming out of college, I was a football player, and the lady I was with at the time, she saw my potential, and she didn't see me. And I think she was with me for the potential more than me.
Right.
So, graduated college, the day of the draft. I didn't get drafted. I ended up going to the Canadian Football League. And the money in Canada is not like the NFL money.
Right.
So, but in her mind, it was set on the NFL money.
Right.
So, you know, we were together in love. It was a real good relationship. We had the baby. Things with football didn't work out. I came home to Atlanta where she was. And things just didn't work out between us.
Okay.
And when those things didn't work out, in my mind, my dad was just one of those dads that he handled the business even though he wasn't with my mom.
Right.
Made sure that clothes, money, anything that I needed was always there. So that was my perception of being a dad. And when I carried that perception into the relationship I had with my son's mom and my son, it wasn't accepted because she felt like, hey, no, I need X amount per month. And I'm like, well, I'm not in a situation to give you that amount.
Right.
And ended up getting the courts involved, and I'll never forget being in court that day and him hammering that thing down. What's it called?
A mallet, gavel.
And you are awarded, I'm not even going to say the amount.
Right. Well,
But
yeah.
it was an amount that made me, I mean, literally, and I showed it without a lawyer. I was young, I didn't know any better. Showed it without a lawyer, and I walked out of court like, how the heck am I going to do this? So I immediately, once we left court, I was in arrears.
So it changed. So initially, it just changed your financial situation right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
Because, like, I was speaking about, like, with my situation, which I didn't know even. I think a lot of us are naive to how that system really works because we're so young.
Right.
And with my situation, at one point in time, the mother was collecting social service. So I didn't know when you go into the court system, well, they was like, okay, well, this woman collected $10,000 from us. You need to pay it back. And I'm like, what? So I had to pay the $10,000 back, plus still had to pay the child support. So when you look at it, if I had to give X amount of dollars, well, the state said, well, we need to get our money back first. So just for example, if I had to pay $500 a month, well, the state might take $4 and send her $1. They might take $3 and send her $2. But no matter what, she's not getting her $500 every month. So that still puts me in the rear. So if I'm automatically have to pay the state the money back, all them $10,000. So now, because they're not sending her the whole amount, she's not getting what the court says she's supposed to get. So you never get out of the rears. But the thing is that this struck up the conversation between Carol and I. And Carol was telling me that the state sent him money back. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. Yeah, I never heard of it in my life, and it blew my mind. Simply stated, I was in a place, and I'll be honest, I felt like I can't talk to my son. You won't let me talk to my son. I'm not a part of his life. I don't even know where this money is going. Okay. And it got to a point where the state came in again and said, okay, we're going to garnish your wages. I didn't beef about it. I had no problem, didn't fight another, said, do what you got to do.
Okay.
And I'm working and I'm living. I was alone. I was by myself. You know, I wasn't supporting another family. I was just alone. So, I'm at work. Now, I know they had my address. I know they had talked to HR.
Uh-huh.
But when the phone at the desk rung, and I picked it up and said hello, and they said who they were, I was like, okay, well, what's the problem? I'm sure everything's fine. And the words me were like, well, Mr. Briggs, just want to let you know that you paid too much. And I was like, wait, what? What do you mean I paid too much? Though honestly, I was doing other things, So my son was getting other things, even though I couldn't.
Right.
I couldn't see him because she basically she ghosted.
Okay.
Because
So do you have contact with that son today,
Well-
in today's climate?
Well, put it this way. See, we talking about when that happened, when they started sending checks back to me.
Yeah.
That was almost 18 years ago.
Okay.
My son is grown.
Yeah, but have
We
you
have-
seen him?
Yeah. Put it this way. Once he graduated high school, I called him because I was at his graduation. And I said, son, the door is always open to you. Within 24 hours, he was at my front door with a bag. Simple as that. And I was with him right through until the time I hung with him and we got him into school so he could live his life and do his thing. And we still have a relationship even now.
Right.
So we're good in terms of that. I've always been dad to him.
That's good.
Because there hasn't been anyone else to be dad.
Yeah.
And he appreciates the time that we do have.
Yeah.
So at this point, that's my firstborn. That's my homie. That's my little guy. Although I'm up in age now.
Right.
Because and again, he's in his 30s now. But he always understood. And the thing is, I didn't have to have that talk to try to explain why. He came and had a talk to me saying, Dad, I understood what happened.
That's the beauty about and I tell my boys that are going through this situation, harness the relationship with the child. Whatever happens with you and the mom, make sure you keep that relationship tight with your child, because when all things said and done, you want to have the presence as though you've been there, you were willing to be there, and you wanted to always have a place in that child's life. And that child will learn and appreciate you more as you grow up, instead of looking at it like, okay, you wasn't there for my mom and you wasn't there for me.
Right. And the child kind of feel like I was just a paycheck to you, But, just talking about that, and, as men, when we deal with this child support situation, I know most men look at it in the same realm of things, like I'm paying this money and I should be able to see my child when I want or have you. But in the midst of paying child support, how did that really, really make you feel when you couldn't see your child and you knew you was paying? How did that make you feel?
You know what? The one thing about her is that she never withheld my child from me. She was really just a force around the financials of my life. And there will be times where I'm gaining stability, and here she comes, she wants more. And I'm like, goodness, can we just get to a point where you're just satisfied?
Right.
So it was really about the financials. It was never about being able to see him. She was always good about letting me see my child. Yeah.
So let me ask this question. Let me throw this question out on the board, right? Like you just said, Aaron, it get to the point that, okay, you let me see my child, so it's always about the financial aspect of it. So, if the court system tell me, and just for the sake of a number, I have to pay $1,000 a month, okay, I still have to go pay rent and live and stuff, and I have to do things for the child when I have the child. So how do you guys feel about when the system, you try to better your life, because now you take this $1,000 away from me every month. Now I got to continue to pay. So how do you feel about the system? Should they come and say, well, this is the amount you're going to get, and that's it? So this guy, no matter whether he betters his life or what have you, he can move forward in life? How do you feel about it?
That's a great question, because I had to pay the amount that I had to pay. There were times when I had to work on the weekends to make sure that I could cover the cost for that and everything else in life. And it doesn't give you any balance. You're either working to pay child support, or
you're working to survive in life.
Right.
You're working to pay your rent, your food, your gas. Because I know I always felt like you're not taking that into consideration. I understand you telling me I got to take care of this child, but you're not taking consideration that I have to take care of me as well.
Right.
You know, and I think that sometimes the system miss out on that. And God forbid you're a guy that has several kids by different women, because the system really doesn't care anything. I don't care if you make it. You know, your responsibility to each one of these children. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what kind of feel do you guys get from that?
Well, I feel like the system basically is geared towards the child and the mother. That's what I've seen in my experience. That it's about them, and you are the least common denominator in the equation.
Right.
You know, and basically you have to just deal. I mean, for me personally, I ate a lot of red beans. and I didn't drive.
Ramen noodles.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Here's another question I want to throw out there.
Catching buses and working.
Right.
I mean, that's really what it was about. I mean, I had to live. I'll be transparent. I was, you know, where you go to the places where you sell your blood plasma?
Yeah.
I was a regular there too.
Okay. Well, here's another question I have to throw out there at you guys. What about you pay child support, but you can't file it on your taxes?
Yeah, I mean, that was another thing. She was getting all the benefits for
Right.
the child care tax and all that. And I'm just like, okay, can we at least split this a little bit?
Right.
No.
No. The answer is no. It's just like, well, can I claim the child one year, you claim the child the next year? And the answer is no. And I just think, you know, in speaking about the system, that you take this from my paycheck, okay? Like you say, you were getting garnishment, but you take this money from me. Why shouldn't I be able to claim at least some of it on my taxes? Because it's money that I'm giving out. It's money you taking. Yeah, I'm supporting this child over here, but is a tax-free situation to the mother, because no matter what I have to send to that mother, she don't pay taxes on that money. I'm paying the taxes on that money, so I should be able to claim it as a deduction. What do you guys think about that?
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, that wasn't even a factor for me.
Right.
Because for that you'd have to be able to say, okay, I take care of this child. This child's in my house. The child can't be in my house if we 5 states apart.
Right, but I'm speaking about just even with your garnishments, you're taking care of your responsibility because they're garnishing your wages, and that's money that's coming out of your paycheck. Whether you 5 states away or whether you're in another country, you know, if you spent $15,000 that year, don't you think that you should be able to claim some of that $15,000 because it got taxed? It got taxed because they took that money. Whatever you made at your job, they taxed that money.
After taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you still had to send that money every month.
Yeah,
so to me, in designing the system, and you know, I know one time I was told, and I don't have the stats on it right now, but the child support system, the rules and regulations have been in place for the last 100 years. They never changed them or made them any different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it makes it tough because when you don't change the laws, but the dynamic of things change, you got to figure out a way to make it work for both parties. And on one of the shows we spoke about, you know, the laws apply differently in different states.
Right.
What apply here in Georgia may not apply in Maryland or Chicago or what have you. So, you know, you got to understand the child support laws that are in your state.
Yeah.
Because in Maryland, if you get in the arrears or anything, they suspend your driver's license, your barber license, whatever license you got getting suspended, you know, because you're not. And the thing I never understood about that situation is because if you suspend my license, then how am I make money? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, in being transparent, I know it was times that I got behind and couldn't figure it out, and I got the sheriff coming looking for me, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a whole nother story when you got the sheriff come looking for you behind child support.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah, no, it's a high pressure situation for a man. And you know what? As I've gotten older and I've gotten a little softer and more open minded, I can see the stress and impact that it has on a woman if she is a sole woman taking care of a child.
yes.
I can see
it
where
too.
it's hard, right? Mm-hmm. At the same time, they don't look at the whole picture of a woman or make it specific to everyone's situation, because it's one size fits all. This woman may have a whole support system while this man is down in Georgia by himself, and if she's got a whole support system and he has no one, shouldn't you kind of give some benefit to the whole picture instead of it just being based around, hey, look, this is the way the laws are. Like you said, they've been in place for 100 years. This is just what it is. Like, I think it needs to be more all-encompassing.
Yeah, because I know, like, when I went to court for child support, my thing that I've confronted the judge about, well, if this is a financial situation that I can take care of the child better financially, give me the child. She don't have to give me anything. That judge said that's not the way it works. He was like, that's not the way it works.
Not how it works.
But
I said the same thing.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. If the real concern is about the child financially, okay, and me and this mother, we don't get along or we don't have a great relationship, then if I can better financially take care of the child, give me the child and give her visitation, you know? And a lot of times, you know, that's never working out in your favor.
Man.
You know, so I try to, you know, when I talk to guys, I try to understand. Am I the only one that thinks like that?
That right there, I was like, okay, if that amount's going to be discussed, I'm not with it. So therefore, I'll just take the child, and you don't have to give me anything.
Right.
And I can save, because there's no way I'm going to be spending $2,200 a month on a child if he's living with me. You're not going to be using $2,200. So let me just have him. Don't worry about anything. I'll take care of it. You just come visit whenever you want, and we'll keep it easy. But obviously, they know there's a benefit on their side, so they want the check at the end of the day. The check.
It's just like you say. If I'm in your situation, if I'm in another state, and this person that I'm dealing with has a support system, you know, and it's not like, you know, they out there struggling, but yet you put me in a struggling situation. I understand my responsibilities as a father, as a man to this child, financially as well as mentally, as well, and emotionally, you know, because that's one reason we're having this talk, because it's like, I don't think they get how it affects us as men emotionally, you know. I mean, especially if you're a guy that loves your child, you know, and then like in your situation, Carl, here come a guy knocking on my door, and you 20 years old now, I got to explain everything, you know. I didn't get chance to be a part of your life and help the upbringing of you because, hey, my situation, I live in one state, you live in another, and not that you could have put that child on at one point on a bus or a plane or something. They could have came spend a week, summer with you. You know, you can spend the summers with me, but you still gonna know who your dad is. You know, but I'm just having these conversations because maybe we can get somebody to think about how the system over.
I think the part that we miss as men is that, you know, when it comes to the whole child support philosophy, we see it as, okay, if I'm there, my child knows who I am, I'm having a presence in their life, that should be the most important aspect.
Yeah, their money, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
That's how we see it. But it's like, to everyone else outside of us, is a dollar amount.
Right.
You know, and it's like, okay, so if I give you that dollar amount and I'm never there, would that be something that would be satisfactory to you? It won't be good for the kid because the kid won't have a balanced, you know, perception. So I wish they would make it, again, an all-encompassing decision, not just based on, okay, numbers. It should be, okay, is he making visitation? If he's making visitation, we need to detract a little bit because he's going to need some money to make sure when they're with the child, they can do something, you know? So
because anything that, once you're in that system and you have to pay this number, anything that you do for your child is considered a gift. It's not a deduction from, if I pay this amount, well, I had the child this weekend and I spent $200.
Right.
Well, sir, you still need to send what we told you to send. You know what I mean? Or you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, again, like you say, which is a good point, Aaron, if you can produce a receipt or something saying, hey, I spent this money, here's the receipt, and it can be verified, right? And the other thing is this. I know at one time my mind process was this before I matured, like you say, to, hey, I got to do what's right by the children. But my mindset was this, and I think this would discourages a lot of men and frustrate on, because you pay this money, then when you do see your child, it's like, okay,
Where's the money going?
Where is the money going? So I felt like, well, won't you do child support like an EBD card? You know what I mean? That I put the money on this card.
That's actually a great idea, my man.
I put this money on this card, but when you go to a store, it justifies you're spending that money on that child. Because whether we want to realize or accept it or not, there's women that you send that, like you say, if you're number high, you just think of somebody getting $2,000 a month. That's a part-time job.
Yeah.
That's $24,000 a year. You can buy a lot of weeds. You can go get a new vehicle or whatever.
Pay off your student loans.
Well, yeah, if that's what you. But that ain't the student loans not getting paid off. But you know what I'm saying. So I think that the system needs to design a way that I can verify that this money is being spent for this child, because that's what you say it was for.
See, that's the thing. It's this whole subject is multidimensional. There's so many elements to it. For me, I'll be honest. When I was in a position where it's like, I want to see my child, you can't see him.
Right, and that's because they separate visitation and the child support.
Right, and it's like you can't. Well, I don't want you to see him because blah blah blah. Well, look, I want to do right. I want to do the right thing. I want to be able to talk to him. You know, and then it's like, well, no, send the money, and you feel paralyzed.
Right.
You feel powerless, because it's a whole different thing, because that goes into custody. It's not necessarily in the same thing as a support office.
Right.
It's a whole different issue. They treat it as such. And so you sitting here like, it makes you feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and nobody's helping you to make that happen. You know, particularly the mom.
Right.
You know, they don't want to, because you know they feel like, okay, well, you're not doing what I wanted you to do, so they use a child as a chess piece.
Yeah.
You know, they weaponize the custody of the child.
Right.
And it's painful for a man, because if nothing else, there's so much, you know, and that's just me. There's a lot of people that feel differently, but I don't believe that women should be getting Happy Father's Day wishes on Father's Day.
Oh, I agree with you.
Because I don't think a woman can ever bring a paternal element to a child situation. Now, nurture, that goes beyond gender. And you know, because I can love, the mama can love. We can love the same way. There's nurturing. But as far as a paternal element, I'm old-fashioned that way. There are gender roles, and there are certain things that we bring to the situation, because men and women are just built differently. We're wired differently.
So we can at least say that in this conversation, we see how financially it hurt us as young men.
Yeah.
As young men, and I think that you make a great point, Aaron, that when you start to mature, it's not so much about getting older, but when you mature mentally,
Right.
you know, you don't look at it as harsh, you know, or I don't look at it like those were some stupid battles I went through, you know what I mean?
Right.
But, you know, when you're a young man and you're out there and you just wilding, you know, all you know is money coming out of my pocket, you know? So we all can sit here and say, as young men, we can understand how it affected us financially, and, you know, mentally affected us, because the time we wanted to spend with our children were limited, whether it was through a visitation or whether it was through the mama, you ain't getting them this, or you ain't getting her this weekend. You know, that the court system set up a system, but then the mama set up her own system too, you know, and designed, well, it's Father's Day and this is your weekend. Like, I know my experience is when I had visitation and I had every other weekend and a couple of days during the week, but I know at one time I went to go get my daughter and I couldn't get her, and it's not because I didn't have my visitation papers. They didn't state on the papers you get her the second and fourth weekend. They just say you get her every other weekend. So when I went to go get her, when I showed the police my papers, they was like, well, sir, we don't know if this is your weekend. So I tell people all the time, when you get caught up in that visitation, make sure they're specified and it's very clear of when you're supposed to have that child. Because the bad thing about it, if you take that child, you can get yourself a kidnapping charge. You know, so you got to make sure it's very clear about it. So, you know,
And then
Go ahead.
one area that I failed to realize as I went through this process is my role in the macro side of it, right? I mean, just like we were young and we came out of college, I was surrounded by women a lot.
Right.
And the part that I failed to realize is that I hurt this woman.
right.
And that part got misunderstood to believe that, okay, I'm a dad, I'm a father, you need to give me the respect I need on that side. Never ever thinking about the hurt that I brought to that woman as our relationship.
And this was what you did after you realized you were maturing about the situation.
Right. So that hurt was truly where a lot of the issues came from. It wasn't coming from the fact that if I was a good dad or not. She knew that part. Her part was the fact that she was hurt from the things that I had done to her and I treated her, and I had to pay. And whatever way that she had it, whatever way she had to go about doing it, I had to feel it. And you know, fortunately, she had the courts on her side to make me feel it, and I felt it.
And I think you make some great points here that sometimes if we as men would understand it's not so much about this situation I put myself in, but it's about the hurt that I brought to this young lady. Because we realize, just like we're sitting here and saying we were young, they were young too.
Yeah,
right.
And you know, when you're young, sometimes you love hard.
Right.
And you know, we as young men, we think our minds told us that, hey, like you say, you're a football player, man, all these women chasing after you and everything. You're like, shoot, I'm gonna sit here with this one,
Right.
and now she got a baby. You know what I mean? I still want to be out partying. I still want to be out having fun.
Right.
Well, now, guess what? I put her in a predicament that we were partying together. Now you can't party, and I'm out at the club doing other things, you know? So you make some great points here, and that's why I think it's so important to have these conversations, because it helped develop people that haven't gotten where we are at right now. You know, because people see things only in their path. They put their blinders on, and that's the way they see things. When you say it has a dynamic to it.
Oh, it does. I mean, case in point, our situations are very different with mine and Aaron's. Really, with me, I was in a situation where I became depressed, and I was basically, okay, well, I need to work, I need to do something, and really, it ended up the end result was I stopped school.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, I didn't finish school until maybe 5 years ago, and I'm in my 50s now.
Okay.
So-
but you got depressed, and what was your reason of getting depressed?
Because I felt like I was inadequate. I felt
As
like
a father,
as a
parent.
father, and consequently as a man, because I couldn't do right by my kid.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so in that, whether you know it or not, there's certain things that you give out that people will pick up on, and it can make a decision as to, okay, do I want to give him this job, or is he better to just do this thing?
Right.
You know, can he excel at this, or can I even trust him to try to do this and do that? So it took a lot of doing for me to work towards, you know, coming back. And within that was when I was able, okay, I can at least do a little something for my kid, even though I can't see him. But it was a hard thing to push through all of that, just to try to find the maturity, to find the manhood that came in it. Because all around, I'm hearing, you ain't no good. You're not going to be nothing. You ain't good enough to see your son.
Right.
And that kind of stuff plays on a guy's mind. You know, and it's like,
especially at early 20s.
Yeah.
Especially at early 20s, because you're expected, you know, when you come out of high school, you got a dream, you got a game plan, and you moving towards it, and that's what you want to do, and it's like, okay, everything's going over, then this happens, and it's like, it's a whole different thing. It flips you.
Right. And I think what you just said is where a lot of young men anger comes from, because the other party begins to play these mind games, and these mind games make you feel like you're less than. And you got a lot of great men out here that are great fathers, but when this mind game get played on you, and like you said, Aaron, when it becomes that in your mind, you just say, "Oh, it's about the money." Yeah. You know, it's not about I'm a good father, and like you said, they know you're a good father, but I'm gonna still play these mind games on you. And I think that's how we get to the point of anger, how we get to the point of depression, how we get to the point of going and wanting to kick doors down and stuff like that, because it's that mind game that's being played on us. And then once we all get to that point of maturity, we begin to handle it differently. Yeah. And I think that's the great thing, that especially us as older gentlemen, that when we see these young guys that are where we were, that we got to take and pull them up. Hey man, you know what? This only gonna last for a moment. And they don't see it. Yeah. They don't see it. They be like, man, nah, this, that, and the other. And like I always say, all three of us that's sitting here today, all of us had situations. All of us dealt with our situations differently. But what worked for you may work for another guy. Right. What worked for me may not work for another guy. What worked for you might work. So we all got our different perspectives about it, Yeah. And I think that's the great thing. And I think that, again, that's why it's so important as these younger men, elders, that we need to mentor them and talk to them. Because you know what? Realistically, they did the same thing we've done. You know what I mean? They got tied up with some young lady, had a baby, and they at that immature point that we were, and they don't know how to handle it. It's the greatest thing in the world, because when that baby's born, you're like, man, I'm a dad, this, that, and other. And as things start to go, and like you say, Aaron, hey, I still want to party. Well, I can't go to the party. Well, I'm going. Now, that's when the momentum starts. Well, good, you're rotten. You know what? Once you spend time with this baby and stuff like that, and you be like, man, what are you talking about? Yeah. So we have to grasp hold of some of these young guys.
And on that point, Lamar, and this show is amazing that you're even talking about this. And, for some of the guys that may be going through something at this time and are listening to this, some keys to success. Make sure that you've got people around you that when you're going through those tough moments, you can talk to and be expressive and get those emotions out. Do not hold it in.
Right.
That's one key to success. Number two, if your day comes where you do have to go to court, do not go without an attorney. If you have to get a court-appointed attorney, get someone that can help you and represent you. Do not show up alone. Whatever you do not show up alone. And number three, stay calm.
Right.
The worst thing you can do is react the wrong way.
Right. I like I said, when I went to court, I got held in contempt of court. Wow. Because I told the judge, you do what you got to do, because I'm going to do what I got to do. And he said, Mr. Clark, I will hold you in contempt of court. Hey, do what you got to do. And like you say, the thing is to stay calm. But one of the other things, and Mr. Aaron was around when we brought this subject, and I just want to touch on it a little. We're not going to get too deep in it, because we all saw the social media thing with the guy bringing his son food, and the mother, had other children, and she felt like, okay, you didn't bring the rest of these children something, you're not. But he stated we know that these other children were by some other men and stuff like that. And I just want to talk about it lightly, and I want to know how you guys feel about that.
Lamar, let me just make sure that's understood clear. So the situation that Lamar is speaking of, there was a gentleman that had a child by a lady that had multiple children by different dads. And in his mind, hey, look, I'm taking care of my one and only, so I brought him some food. That child went back to the house with that food, showed up with the other kids. The other kids were not happy. The mom was not happy. She threw the food out the window or whatever.
She threw it out. It never made it into the house. It never
made it into the house. So Lamar is asking us, how do we see that situation? I just want to make sure that was clear.
How do being a father, and then you, Curl, being a father that didn't get to see your child till you were older. I mean, when you saw that video, what did you think about that video?
What I thought was, first of all, I wish the young brother would have just took his child to go get something for the sake of peace. Okay, because there's no way you could do for one and not do for the others, and think that you're going to leave a situation. If the situation is bad, it's oppositional. It's like, I got, you got. And kids sometimes like to put it in your face. Look what my daddy did. We don't know what the other fathers do or what their capacity was in those children's lives. But you got one father that's doing what you would think would be the right thing, looking out for his. But I think that it would be better if he would take his child to go do something as opposed to doing something in front of the other ones. He could have bought a Little Caesars pizza and everybody could have ate.
Well, he at one point in time, he told her, let the kid come down to the car and eat with me. He told her that at one time. Okay. Then that's when he said, well, where are the other kids' fathers? What are they doing?
See, and that probably struck a nerve.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Of course, because it's like, how dare you tell me about what's going on in my life? But there's a percentage of your life that's my life because I brought that life.
Right.
And really it's a bad thing because the expectation of the mother was wrong too. It was wrong on both sides of it because she was almost demanding that you do for all of my kids.
Right.
Do for all of them.
Right.
Or don't do for none of them, but you can't do that because then it's like a dual-edged sword. It cuts both ways. It's a catch-22 because he wants to do for his child. But if I do for my child, I can't do for my child in front of your children.
Right.
So there's conditions, there's parameters, there's things that are set up, and if he doesn't do it exactly the correct way, then he's getting blasted, and the child is in the middle of it. Because trust me, that child was there. The child heard the mama yelling. The child heard dad yelling. Heard all this stuff. People on the street. Now it's global. It went viral.
Right. So, Ern, give us your perspective on it.
I mean, as wise as I am now, I can completely understand that guy. Yeah. Hey, I'm only taking care of my child. Your situation is not my situation. So if I'm taking care of my child in our situation, that's all you need to ask for me. The rest of your kids, I love them, but they're not mine.
Right.
Right.
But at the same time, with me having a more mature heart now, I can see how I would have rubbed that lady the wrong way.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, hey, look, you can't put a responsibility of 4 kids when I'm only responsible for one on me.
Right.
So, I can see both sides, but more the guy side point of view.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the way I looked at the dynamics of it was that we seen a video on social media and we didn't know the whole dynamic of what went on, because I know that in my perception, if me and this mother do not get along, I'm not just going to ride by the house with some McDonald's and hope I can give it to my son. First of all, I don't know whether she's there. I don't know whether the other kids are there. So in my mind, I'm trying to process somewhere, somehow, somebody contacted this father. Yeah. This kid, I don't know how old the kid was, but in my mind, somebody called. Maybe he made a phone call. Daddy, I'm hungry, And the father's, hey, I'm going to step by McDonald's and pick up some food for you, We don't know what kind of financial situation his father in. Maybe, I know even in today's climate, man, people struggling to buy Happy Meals, Especially if you got 3, 4, 5 children, what I mean? It totals up.
Because I guess the thing, when I watched it and the thing that hit me was when the lady said, I'm about to put you on Front Street because you're not a good father. And it was like, whoa, hold up. Because he didn't take care of all of your kids.
Right.
Now he's not a good father, period. See, that's the kind of stuff. We're talking about playing games.
Right.
And doing stuff that can affect the way the man. Now, he bucked against it. He was like, nah, you can't call me a bad father because I didn't buy something for everybody. That's not my job to do. Mm-hmm. And it's not.
Right.
So that's part of the thing where it goes back to, okay, what are you doing? I mean, that's emasculating.
Right.
Worst thing you can do.
She mentioned about food stamps. What you doing with them food stamps? Because I know the hood I'm from, them girls sell them food stamps so they can get their nails and hair and everything else so they can go party. I don't know. I'm just saying from the dynamics of it, and that's not to say all women do that, but from the hood where I'm from, They go sell some food stamps. I got $100. You give me $50. You can have this $100 worth of food stamps because I need $50 to go get my nails done or what have you. So it's kind of a sticky situation. We kind of heard that it was a staged act or whatever, but whether it was staged or not, it was a bad look because it was trying to degrade a father that was trying to do for his child. Because the benefits of it, if I'm with you, some young lady, and you have 3 children besides my child, and we're not kicking it no more, those children are not my responsibility. They're not they got daddies,
I love them.
I love them, but they're not my responsibility,
Right.
And even like I say, even in the dynamics of it, we don't know what this guy's financial situation was, because maybe he might have only had money to, just like she said, I don't get my food stamps till next week. Well, maybe I don't get my paycheck till Friday, and all I got is $5 in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I can't afford to buy everybody Happy Meals, because even from the scope of it, I've heard people say, well, he could have bought a pizza and he could have did this. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. My thing is this: why would you set up and degrade somebody that was trying to do the right thing by their child? That's the sole purpose to me, that whether it was fake, whether it was staged, but the message to me was you were trying to degrade someone that was trying to be a decent, good father to their child. And I just thought it was just the saddest thing in the world, man. And I just think that's a lot of times where guys get the position they get put into. Yeah. The emotional part that we talk about is that, hey, I'm trying to be this good father, and you just stung me. You stung me like a bee. I'm driving over here thinking, hey, man, I'm doing the right thing, because let's look at on the other side. What if, like I said, we really don't know. What if he didn't bring the kid nothing to eat? Mm-hmm. Then he still would have been a bad father. So darn if I do, darn if I don't.
Yeah, and I think there's some other components in there. The communication style, obviously, if that was an issue, there's a way that it can be communicated to where it doesn't blow up into that level. So I think they may have just been an immature group of people. They definitely wasn't representing our culture and our community the right way, because that's not the way we need to project ourselves. However, the communication style, it could have just been better. It could have been better,
Yeah. So like I said, we come to this round table just to talk about the things that affect us mentally, financially, and legally. We doing this series, and we're going to do other series about the emotional things that men go through. Because I bring this show to you because there's a lot of things as men we deal with, we don't talk to each other about, or we don't expose it to us, because we grew up that we had to have this certain macho thing about us. And I think that's why, to me, the mind is the most powerful thing you have. I don't care how much money you make. It's the mind, because your mind controls a lot of things. And I just think that we just need to, as men, to reach out to each other, to let each other, we love each other. Hey, if I can be there to support you and nurture you through whatever you're going through, hey, brothers, we need to be there for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's the child support situation, whether it's a relationship situation, we're going to talk about all things. And I appreciate you guys coming out, and like I said, this is the show that will make you smile, laugh, and even cry. And if you want to, get people to listen to it, they can go to www.peoplethinkaboutit.com and pull up our PAR page, and all the episodes that we ever talk about is on there. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. So we're trying to reach out to touch the community of men.
That's real.
If you have any subjects you want to address, you can email us as well as peoplethinkaboutit@gmail.com.
Right, and so you can do that, and just let people know what's happening here. People think about it, and we're here to support the men. And if you, like she said, if you have any other subjects you want to reach out, or any subjects you think might be good to talk about, hey, let's bring them forth. Let's help one another. And I just want to thank you guys for coming out, supporting the show, being part of the show. And hopefully this won't be the last time. Know what? And we can talk out. And I just want to thank y'all for coming out to People Think About It, and hope that everybody get touched in some kind of way, and that we can just bring us brothers together.
All right.
And love one another, This is the show that makes you smile, laugh, and sometimes even cry. Thank you
Appreciate
for
you,
listening
Lamar.
to People Think About It.